Hey, Kyle here from Animist Ecology. In this video, I want to talk about how you can induce a flow state when you're in nature. And to practice this, I recommend finding the wildest place possible that's accessible to you. So a place ideally where you're not going to see other people. It's just going to be you in the forest, okay? And the reason being in a wilder place is good is because flow thrives when you have zero interruptions. So most people today have constant interruptions because of their phone. So they almost never get into flow. And that's the tragedy of work today, is that people are unhappy because they're never immersed. They're never paying full attention to things. And you just can't experience joy and this deep state of immersion that makes us feel and perform our best unless you have full attention on something. So the reason a wild place is good as well is because there's three things that help trigger flow. What's called a rich environment triggers. So a rich environment has three things, okay? Novelty, in that there's, new things to explore and see that force you to pay closer attention. There's unpredictability, right? When you're in nature, you're on a bit of an adventure. You don't know exactly what's gonna happen, forces you to pay closer attention. And there's complexity, right? Nature is infinitely complex, right? From the trees to the plants and the symbiosis between them to the mycelium invisibly interconnecting everything in the soil. The forest is this incredibly complex environment, and complexity combined with novelty and unpredictability helps induce something called awe. And awe is a gateway to flow when you're in nature. So awe is this feeling in your body of like mystery, of intuition, of this sense of connection to something greater that defies rational logic in your intellect. And that inspires you and makes you feel full of energy, full of aliveness, and that feeling is what you can ride into a flow state. Okay, so what you want to do to get into a flow and induce a flow state in nature is you want to have first zero interruptions. So do this alone initially or with someone you're very close with who also wants to be committed to practicing this. And then find a place you're not going to be disturbed by someone else. And initially you want to stop for about a minute and just quietly scan your body from the tip of your head to the tip of your toes. Release any tension in your body. Just notice it and just say, I release it in your mind. And the less tension you have in your body, the more likely you're gonna get into flow. And the problem for a lot of people is in the modern world, in this busy, always on world, our stress response is chronically activated. And when your stress response is chronically activated, you have high levels of stress hormones in your blood. It's very hard to get into a meditative state. It's very hard to get into a flow state. It's often very hard for people to get into a sleep state and stay in that state for very long, into the deep sleep state, even fall asleep. So the stress response of what's called our sympathetic nervous system is a huge problem today, right? Doctors suggest that probably 80% of diseases are triggered by overactivation of the sympathetic nervous system. Whereas we have this parasympathetic nervous system, which is more how we get into flow, where it's this rest and digest versus this fight, flight, or freeze response. And the parasympathetic nervous system is more our natural state. And in this state, with so much more we can do creatively in terms of our fulfillment. So flow really happens with this parasympathetic nervous system. And there's ways, you can push yourself into flow through struggle, through stress as well. But in nature, it works better just being relaxed and having this open, immersive awareness of what's around you. So you've relaxed yourself, you just spend a minute just scanning your body, letting go of any tension. And next what you want to do is you want to spend a few minutes, let's say 5 minutes, walking around, just noticing the world around you with an open focus, okay? So most of the time we have this narrow, objective focus. We're focusing in on things, tasks, things we need to do, right? And this puts you in a mild state of stress, right? A little bit of stress is good if you want to get something done, right? But to get into flow in this way, you don't want to have this narrow objective focus because it's going to block flow. So what you want to do is have this open focus, this open awareness, just taking in the world around you. So if you've practiced mindfulness before, it's very similar to mindfulness, a mindful awareness state where you're not judging, you're not labeling, you're not in the past, you're not in the future, but the mind does that anyway, because that's how the mind works. So you gotta notice the mind when it's judging, when it's labeling, when it's drifting off into the past, drifting into the future, and you gotta pull it back to the present. And the way to do that is by feeling in your body. So we have this felt sense in our body, and when we really feel directly in our body, the spirit in our body, we can be very present. We can get into flow. So as you're walking around, just noticing things with this open awareness, ask yourself, how does this make me feel? And then notice in your body, how does it make you feel to be in this environment? So you drop into flow not by thinking about flow, not by conceptualizing what a flow state is, but by feeling your way into flow, by feeling your environment, by feeling your inner world, and through that feeling this outer world as well. So the feeling sense is really important, this felt sense of your immediate experience. Flow happens in the deep now. It just doesn't happen when we're lost in thought, okay? And the normal state of modern man and modern woman is to be lost in a chronic state of thought, compulsive thinking, the same thoughts day after day after day after day, right? And not seeing the world directly. So flow is a gateway to break free from our old patterns through what Herbert Benson, who developed the relaxation response at Harvard University, what he calls the breakout principle, where we break that old pattern of thinking, that old pattern of conceptualizing the world around us, and we actually step into a new state of seeing things directly with fresh, open awareness. So the breakout principle. So the breakout principle helps us break free from our old ways and patterns, and we do this by really dropping into our body, feeling our full body experience, this feeling sense in our body of the felt presence of our immediate experience, because flow only happens in this deep now. So what you've done is you've relaxed yourself for a minute, scanned your body, gone for a walk for about 5 minutes, just noticing the world around you with this open awareness. And then as you're doing that, you want to start feeling in your body how the experience makes you feel, and asking yourself that in your mind's eye, like, how does this make me feel? And then feel it, okay? And really focus on your feelings. And when your thinking comes up about different things that come up from the things that are in your body that, you know, are stored, like we have so much, past trauma or memory, thinking patterns that are stored in our body, and we really feel directly in our body that can come up. So you just want to let that go and be mindful of that, and just bring your attention back to this feeling sense. And if you spend 10 or 15 minutes really tuning into this feeling sense, really asking yourself, how does this make me feel? As you're exploring in the forest, you're gonna find you get this state of awe that starts to grow inside of you, where you start to feel this sense of awe and wonder about this amazing world you're living in, because you're not living in this conceptualization state anymore, this thinking state. You're more feeling the world directly. And there's a mystery all around us, and this magic in living forests that we don't really notice when we're always thinking and conceptualizing and analyzing and labeling. So this is a really easy way to induce a flow state. And just like with meditation, initially you're gonna dip into the state, and you're gonna have experiences, sometimes fleeting, sometimes a little bit deeper, where you lose yourself. And afterwards you're like, whoa, that was amazing. I felt this amazing sense of connection, of awe and flow. But you gotta practice over time to get better at it, right? And the best place to really practice this is in a forest, because nature has naturally been shown to actually help induce an alpha brainwave state. And alpha brainwaves are essential for dropping into flow. And then flow often, in neuroscience is considered, the full flow state. When you completely lose yourself in something, it's often considered at the border of alpha and theta brainwaves. Whereas alpha is this relaxed conscious state, theta is this more dream-like or trance-like state. And flow happens as a bridge between these two brainwave states. Whereas our normal waking consciousness is typically characterized by dominance of beta brainwaves, which is thinking, analyzing, trying to solve problems with the conscious mind, linear thinking, right? What we needed to use to survive day to day. But a flow state comes from complete immersion and from this sense of awe that builds up in our body when we're in these wild places that have novelty, unpredictability, and complexity. So try that out. You drop into your body, you ask yourself how you're feeling, and you spend 10 or 15 minutes doing this, and you're gonna start to feel this sense of awe. You're gonna see something, you're gonna feel something. The bird singing you're gonna feel more immersed in that, and it's gonna induce this sense of awe and this sense of wonder and amazement, where you really feel more alive in your body. And that is how you drop into the flow state in nature. So if you have any questions, hit me up in the comments. I'm happy to help. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like. And if you also want to learn more about flow states, about nature, about eco-mindfulness, then please subscribe to the channel. Okay, I'm Kyle from Animist Ecology, and may the forest be with you.